Hi, this is Shubham, and in this video, we will learn about how we can append multiple Excel files, which is in CSV format, in Microsoft Excel through Power Query. So let's say we have a folder on our local hard drive, and we have one Excel CSV file format on daily basis, and every file contains a certain number of records as the data, and we need to combine or stack them together, or you can say append together. Not by the manual approach, but using Power Query inside Microsoft Excel. So how we are going to do that? Now, this particular situation is based on multiple CSV files format. But I will also tell you, if you have Excel format files, then the treatment would be a bit different. Okay, so let's get started. We will open a new Excel file, which is blank, and we will go to the Data tab. Okay, so here you can see on the very left side, you have get and transform group, which is known as the Power Query section. So what we will do, we will click on get data from the menu. We will go to from file, and we will not import one by one Excel workbook or CSV file format, but we will select a connector called from folder. Okay, so let's click on from folder. Let's paste in here and let's click open. Now it will establish a connection. Now this particular window showing us the metadata, okay, and this shows that how many files are there. I mean, which names are there, extensions and their date, modified, date, access or create. Now what we do is we will click on combine at very bottom, and here you can see combine and transform. What it will does, it will combine the data and get into Power Query, or we need to exclude the Power Query window. So we can do combine and load, and then the data would be fetched on the main book spreadsheet. Combine and load to is an option where the Power Query combine the data from multiple CSV files and load to, and we can establish a connection. And then we can add to the data model to the Power Pivot if our data is too large. Okay, so we will talk about this later on. But what we need is combine and transform at this this point of time. So we will click on it. That starts evaluating our query, and now it shows us a window, again a combine files. Now as we know that we have a daily basis data, a daily date data is in CSV format, number 1, and we have from 1st of January till 12th of January. And what user does is every day from the ERP software, he extracts the data and put it into the folder. So eventually the very next day, he will put and paste that CSV format file into that particular folder. So we will be appending data from each of the file. Now what does this mean? I mean, the very first question will come into your mind is what I need to pick from this particular drop down list. Either I need to pick 4th of January or I can go with the first file. The first file shows you 1st of January 2025. Right now, the basic assumption, or you can say limitation in this particular use case is that each of the file contains the equal number of columns. Okay, so for example, each file contains 8 number of columns inside it. It does not matter if any column is being coming at the 3rd number or in any other file. It could be coming at the 6th number, but the columns are there. The columns are similar. But for example, in the different scenario for the 1st of January, if this file contains 10 columns, but 2nd January contains 12 columns, so we need to pick the best file, which contains the maximum number of columns, so that the patterns should be similar for each of the file to append the data. Otherwise, the columns would be skipped into that scenario. In that scenario, so at this point of time, what we are trying to have an assumption that each of the file contains equal number of columns and the headers are also same in nature. I mean, in the 1st of January file, for example, the headers are in capital, and the 2nd of January file, the headers are in small letter. So the Power Query will not be able to append that. So definitely the Power Query uses the case sensitive things. Very importantly, so our headers are in similar formats, plus the number of columns are in equivalent in this scenario. Okay. So whatever the file you pick here doesn't matter. So we will go with the first file. Okay, so we choose the 1st of January 2025 file. Let's click OK. Now it is enabled. So that will open up our query editor window in the next few seconds. You can see here. So when I open this source dot name, you can see all the data from 12 file exactly coming. And that's being appended successfully. So you can see 3rd of January and then we have 4th of January and all the columns data coming in the right manner. Okay. Now what we need is we need to append the data and also we need to create the average of that balance in customer wise. We need to make it summarize as well. Okay, and eventually in this scenario, what we are trying to discuss is that I will not load this data from multiple files to our main Excel workbook because you know that in Microsoft Excel, the sheet has a maximum number of 1 million rows, right? But what happens that when the user is fetching data and it has more than 1 million of rows, like 4 million, 5 million or 10 million, so we will append the data. What we are doing is we are appending the data from multiple CSV file format of Excel in Power Query. But we will load this to the Power Pivot instead of going to the main interface of a spreadsheet. So we will say that appended data will we will rename this. Okay. And let's click on close and load, not close and load. Now, if I click on close and load, it will open a new sheet in my Excel interface and that loads the entire data. And as I told you, that the best practice would be to make sure that you append the data through Power Query and make it load to the Power Pivot because it has more rows as compared to the main interface. So we will click on close and load to. That will open a window here. So we will click on the create connection and we will add this data to the data model. Okay. Let's click OK. Now what happens? This process will run here. And you can see the status on the very right side in the queries and connections menu here. And the data is not here. Now, where is the data has been gone? As I told you that we have selected the connector as a folder. We appended the data through Power Query that's still available there, but the data is not loaded on the main spreadsheet. When you go to the Power Pivot, you click on Manage or from the Data tab. You also have this icon, okay, Data Model. So when you click that, will open up a Power Pivot for Excel. Now, here is your data from all those 12 different files, okay, CSV files. Now, what I will do is I have just next to this, go here and I will create a explicit measures for average of the balance column here. So I will use a formula bar, or I can also use this icon as well for having the calculation for average. So I can write the DAX using an explicit measure, or I can click here for average for a quick calculation. So it lets me click here and that gives me the average of balance. Okay, balance column, right? Let's see here. Okay, this is the average and we will use this explicit measure based on for each of the customer name, customer ID as well. Okay, now what we will do, so we will click create a pivot table here. It is very simple. Let's go to home and you will see the pivot table feature here. Let's click on pivot table. Now it will ask where I need to create a pivot. So we will create it on existing worksheet right here on the A1 set. Let's click OK. And now we have this appended data. So we have customer ID, okay, and we have the average of balance column. You can see the F symbol. This is the explicit measure. Let's click here. And these are the averages for each of the customer. Okay. And if we see the date wise, what we can do here is, let me copy this power pivot. Let's move to next. And here we will exclude the customer ID and we will put the date here. So eventually we have 12 different files as you see, and we have we will not take the average of balance, but we will take the balance column here. Okay. So this is exactly same because I have just copied and pasted all those file column numbers that are exactly the same. So absolutely right. Now next step is, for example, if the user goes to that folder and the very next day after 12th of January, he extracts some data from that software and put that CSV file here. For example, 13th of January. Let me paste that 13th of January. Now 13th of January has been pasted, right? Now next thing is that what I need to do here. So I will go to the data tab and I will click refresh all. And as soon as I refresh, you will see a change here, okay? And change in these numbers as well. So let's refresh and see automatically the 13th of January has been added here because I changed some numbers here so that you can relate. And the average balance has also been updated. So we can format that from the home tab, okay? So now see, just with one click you appended from the Power Query has been done. And automatically in the Power Pivot, this has been reflected. So you have also automated the process as well. So now what happens on the very next day, when the user puts some more CSV files, he just need to go to the Excel, go to data and refresh all, and all the process will be done on the back end. So that's how we can use Power Query to append the data from multiple CSV files. All right, now in the second situation, if the user has a folder which contains different Excel files, this is not a CSV format, this is the main.xls format, okay? So we have 5 files, you can imagine as 20, 50, 100 files as you want to, but the logics and the execution will remain the same. So I have put just 5 files, Excel files. Now I want to append the data. So what would be the steps? I mean, it would be different as compared to the CSV which we have. Just see, in the demonstration, we will go to the data. We will click on get data from file from folder. We will copy and paste that folder path and let's click open. Now, because we are appending the Excel files and we know that each Excel file contains some data and the name of the sheets will be different inside those Excel files. So as at this point of time, we will not be able to successfully execute combine and transform or combine and load, because in the CSV it is okay with the different file names it accepts, but as an Excel file, we will click on the transform data. That will open up a query editor and we need to add a short M language code with some basic tips and tricks and transformation. So at this point of time, we just need these two columns, the content and the name. Okay. We don't need the other column. So we will select content. So we will select content name. Right click, remove other columns, and we will add a custom column. So go to add column, click on custom column, and let's name that as data and or any other name you would like to. The code is Excel workbook round bracket, open, double click on content round bracket, close and click OK. So now it added a custom column as name as data. And when you open this filter menu, you will find a certain columns. Just uncheck use original name, column name as prefix. Okay. That you need to take care of. Click OK. Now our data is coming from the sheets because we don't have table inside it. We don't have structured references. So data is coming from the sheet of every file. Now what we need is, again, we will open this drop down menu. The column name is data.1 this time. And see, there are columns here. Let's click OK. And now the data has been fetched from here. But one thing you will see here, that this header from every file is being repeating. Now we need to do some transformations. Let's say we don't need this column. Now let's remove this. We don't need this one as well. Remove. We don't need this. Item kind and hidden as well. So right click, remove. Now we will make this first row as headers. Okay. So we don't need this one as well, I think. Right? Remove. So to make the first row as headers, we will click use first choice as headers. Okay. And then open this drop down menu. Let's unselect the customer name. All right. So we have excluded all the headers which were coming on repeating from each other file. Now our data is being appended successfully, right? Now what we will do is close and load. If you go with the first option, that will open a sheet and load the data on the spreadsheet. But if you are dealing with the big data and you think that in future, if it would be more than 1 million, so the best way is to click close and load to and make only create connection and check mark, add this data to the data model. That will definitely go to Power Pivot side. And from there, we can use the same process will be done, which I have done in this video earlier for CSV files. And eventually what happens next time when the user puts more Excel files into that folder, he just need to go in the data and click on refresh all. So that's how you manage your appending things on daily basis at your workplace. So I hope you like this video. Thank you.